guys, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be sharing a super fun card with you guys using the Lawn Fawn Happy Harvest and the interlocking backdrops stamp sets. I've had this card idea in mind for a long time and I'm really excited to share it with you. So I started out by stamping out my scarecrow, and now I'm going to take the cornstalk image in this set and I'm going to use a couple different Lawn Fawn inks to stamp it out. I'm using the sunflower at the top and then the jalapeno and then a little bit of noble fir at the bottom just to kind of get a little bit of variation in the shading. And then I'm just stamping that out a couple of times on the side here. So I have a couple cornstalks. And then I'm going to begin coloring his face, and for that I'm going to use E51, E53, and E55, and I'm going to set the marker caps out throughout the coloring portion of the video so that you guys can see which colors I'm using. I wanted his face to look like burlap, like a scarecrow normally would, so I'm starting out with the E51, just giving just a wash to saturate the paper, and then I'll start to lay in my shadows with the E53 and deepen those with the E55, and then I'll just go back in the reverse to blend that out with the E53 and then finishing with the E51. And then I'm going to move on to his shirt, and I'm going to use BG72, BG75, and BG78 for that. I wanted it to be kind of like a tealish blue-green color. Number one, because I'm going to be adding some hillsides to my card later, and the farthest distant one is this kind of tealish green-blue color. So I wanted to pull that color back in. And number two, if you saw the title of this video, it's also because I'm trying to make him look like the Scarecrow from The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz is my most favorite movie of all time, and my favorite scene in the movie is when Dorothy meets the Scarecrow and just the interactions that they have. So I wanted to try to recreate that Scarecrow on my card today, so I kind of Googled some images of, you know, what his outfit looked like just to have it fresh in my mind when I started coloring. And this is the color of the shirt that he wore in the movie with Judy Garland. So I also colored his little sash on his hat to match, and then I'm taking E44, E47, and E49 to color his pants, his little overalls. In the movie he actually wore pants, but you know, this is just an interpretation of the movie, so it's fine that he's wearing overalls. It's close enough. But I used the E44 to just color in his nose because he had kind of a darker brown nose. And then I just put down a wash of that on his pants. And now I'm going to lay in where I want my shadows to be, kind of towards the inside of the pants, around the buttons and his shoulders on the overalls, and around that pocket, just to make it kind of stand out a little bit more. And then I'm going to take the E49 and I'm going to use that one really sparingly because it's a really dark color. It's almost black brown, and I'm just going to use that to add some really nice contrast in a couple little areas. And then I'll blend that back out with the E47 and then finish again with the E44. And then I'll just take that E47 marker and color in the stick that's holding him up. In the end card, I knew it was going to be behind the fence, and so you wouldn't really see it very much, so I just needed some color on there. I'm taking Y17 to color in the straw that's sticking out of his arm and pant legs there, and then the buttons as well. And then I'm going to blend that out with a little Y15. And then in the movie, the Scarecrow wears a black hat, so I started out with some cool grays. I'm using the C5 to just kind of lay out my shadows, and then I'm going to use the C7 to darken those up, kind of doing like a center light source. So usually you can do either to the right or the left, or like on this one it's kind of coming full on him, like sort of towards his face, towards his chin, I would say, so that the light is going to hit on the front of the hat, and the outside edges of the hat are going to look darker, and that's also going to make them look more rounded in appearance. So I'm just shading that in with the C9 I used, and then the C7, and then blending everything back together with the C5. Later I decided I needed a couple of crows, so I used those same 3 cool grays, and then just a little YR07 for their beaks. So now we can start our card assembly. For the focal panel, I chose a light aqua for the sky, and then I die cut 3 different colors of green cardstock using the Lawn Fawn Stitched Hillside Border dies. And I'm trying to recreate that scene from the movie The Wizard of Oz, when Dorothy comes upon the scarecrow in the cornfield. So I just Googled some images on my phone, and you could see all these little hillsides in the distance. There's also a fence in the foreground, kind of a gray fence. So I used the Lawn Fawn picket fence border die to die cut some gray corrugated cardstock paper. It kind of flattened it out and pressed it together, but I really liked the look. And then I took that Lawn Fawn interlocking backdrops stamp and used the brick pattern to stamp out the yellow brick road on some yellow cardstock. So that's all my pieces. I'm going to adhere the middle hillside, the medium green, to the darkest hillside with some Tombow Mono multi-glue, and that'll just give that a moment to dry. And then I'm going to go ahead and adhere that directly to my focal panel. Then I'm going to take my yellow brick road and I'm going to adhere that to the foreground green panel. I just glued that towards the bottom of the yellow brick road because I needed to be able to slip in this fence. And I only added a little bit of glue to the fence as well because I knew I was going to need to keep adding things behind it and kind of lifting it up. So I just used a little bit of glue to kind of hold it in place. I wanted a little bit of dimension, so I'm going to pop up this green hill, and you can see that was my very last piece of foam tape on that roll, and it just happened to fit perfectly. Luckily I did buy a new roll, but I didn't want to open it right there on camera. It wasn't nearby on the desk, so I'm just going to take a little bit more of the Tombow Mono and place some of the corn stalks behind the fence. It took a little finagling to get those placed just right, and that is why that I didn't add too much glue to that fence, so that I was able to kind of lift it up and adjust those as needed until I had them where I wanted them to be. Then I took my little scarecrow and added some Tombow Mono to the bottom half of his body, and then a few foam dots to the back of his head so that I could pop him up. And I just cut one of those in half to kind of pop his arms up as well. And then I'll just add him to my scene. And you can see that he just looked a little bit lonely there, and since I didn't have anything I could add for Dorothy, I decided to make this like the scene just as she was coming upon him. So in that scene he did have some crows on his arms, and that where he was kind of trying to shoo away, but they were not afraid of him because he was too friendly. So I decided to just add in a couple of those crows to kind of set the scene a little bit more. For my sentiment, I decided to take the May All Your Dreams Come True from the Critters Ever After stamp set. Even though the theme of the movie is There's No Place Like Home, that was just Dorothy's journey, and each of the characters really had their own dreams or wishes that they were hoping that the wizard would answer, so I thought that this was appropriate. So I'm just going to go ahead and stamp that in some Versamark ink on some black pearl cardstock that has just a little bit of shimmer to it, and I'm going to white emboss that and heat set that with my heat gun. And once that was set, I just went ahead and trimmed it out with my paper trimmer, and then cut the ends to kind of like a flag end. And then I just glued that down with a little bit more of the Tombow Mono. My card base is a piece of MFT's Hot Cocoa cardstock folded to a standard landscape style card. And I am taking a piece of paper from this new Lawn Fawn perfectly plaid fall paper pack, and I just die cut one of the patterns with the Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle stackables dies so that it covered the card. I love these plaids. They're so beautiful and perfect for fall. And I thought that would tie in nicely with the little bit touch of orange from the crow's beaks. So all the other colors are incorporated in that plaid. So I'm just going to adhere that with some more Tombow Mono, and that one little part of the sky was looking a little empty, so I decided to add a tiny little stitched cloud. And I'll just get that situated, and that is going to complete our card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this Wizard of Oz inspired card. Thank you so much for watching. If you missed my last video, the Lift the Flap card, you can go ahead and click the little video clip and it'll take you right to it. Bye-bye.